No, when we first went to Faith Memorial, we had a teacher named Misty Sack. Misty Sack, yeah. It's about 8 years ago. It was about 7 or 8 years. Yeah. So it was about 7 years ago, maybe, because, yeah. And see, we started it when we were in Misty's class. And then Sheila took over for Misty. And then Sheila, in her mind, created this thing that she started the group. And then she got really nasty with Anne Marie, and she was like, well, I started this thing and Debbie took it over. That's not the truth. Ellen and I started this group. And that rumor needs to be shut down. And just the fact that she's being so nasty to people, she's not changed at all. And see, Ellen had asked me to add her back to the group. She said that when she went over to talk to Sheila, Sheila said, well, Debbie removed me from the group. And and she said she wanted to be added back. But see, she thinks she's the only person that got removed. She wasn't. She was one of 5. And her attitude, Nancy was on there, I took her off too. No, they never came, and every time they would reply, we have other plans, or we're not coming, or, so if you don't come, I'm taking your name out of the group. And that's what I did for people who couldn't come. Nobody has responded. But this behavior needs to be addressed, because this woman is too old to be acting like a temperamental child. Well,
put this on blast.
Well, she acts like a fool.
Facebook. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, she acts like a fool. I'm thinking back to the behavior when we went to lunch at Texas Roadhouse, and she had 6 or 7 plates in front of her, and Anne Marie was sitting there, and she had no room to eat. She didn't have room to put her elbow up to cut her steak.
Is that where they put the peanuts
and
on the
I
floor?
asked Sheila to move her bread, and she said, no, I'm not moving my bread. And I said, well, can you put it on your plate and take one of the smaller plates away? And she said, I don't want my food touching. Oh, well, she grabbed like 2 or 3 things and put it on a separate plate. And then she ordered an appetizer and sat there and ate it in front of 6 people and didn't offer anybody anything. And she acts like a temperamental little princess that's 2 or 3 years old and stomping her feet. Really? Well, Anne Marie told me something interesting yesterday about her. She has always claimed that her brother has mental illness. Her brother doesn't have mental illness. Her brother is gay. And she doesn't want. It's possible, but it might be Molly, because I know Rachel dates a lot of men. Yeah. 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 Well, and see, she's blaming Anne Marie because, that was it. Yeah. Well, and then, she's sitting here blaming Anne Marie for stuff, but she herself sat at Joe and Mima's and said, I wish you would hurry up and die. And she thinks that, I know, she just talks. No, and she just blurts things out, and then she gets, temperamental. I mean, there's been 3 or 4 times that she stood up and screamed and left the restaurant. Or remember when we were down at Frank's and she asked me if I would reserve her and Nancy a seat at the table, and I told her our table was already full, that we already had plans for the ladies' luncheon. And she just screamed at the top of her lungs, I guess I won't come. I won't come to this either. She has no control. And she manipulates people by getting all emotional. Anne Marie said that she's got all these women at the Bible study now. Oh, poor Sheila, your husband died. They don't know how she treated him. They don't know how she wished him dead. She uses it to get sympathy. And yeah. Well, I don't know, but I just told Anne Marie, I said, if she comes back to the luncheon, I'm not dealing with this stuff. I'm not dealing with it. I'm not going back. Well, and I'm gonna shut it down if she starts saying, I started the group, or if she says, we can't trust people at the table, blah, blah. I'm just gonna say, Sheila, you're not welcome back. That's it. That's your last chance. You blew it. She doesn't know how to behave in public. She believes that she is the center of the universe. And I know. And yeah. Well, see, she had been in BSF, but she had been out of it for over 10 years. And I have no idea why they asked her back as a leader. And Susan's even told me that she'll never be a leader again. Yeah, it's just crazy. But I'm tired of the nonsense, and I'm not going back to it again.
How much does that?
It does. Yes. And we have had months. I know.
Thank you.
Yeah. It is. And see, and we've had a couple of drama-free months. We don't want to invite that kind of mess back into it. And if she can't behave herself and control herself, then she just doesn't need to come. So it is, and for months now, it's been calm, it's been good fellowship, it's been good conversation, without all the drama and the mess that she brings like a tornado of mess every time she comes. And she just doesn't need to come. She needs to find herself other friends. Because she said she doesn't trust anybody anymore. She thinks we all betrayed her. Well, see, and that's her mindset. She's told everybody, oh, I know. And I think she's always had a form of mental illness, and she just doesn't recognize it. But the thing is, when you constantly stir up trouble and you pick fights with people and bait people and argue with people, and that's a mental illness. Yeah. Well, and she has had COVID multiple times. It does. Well, see, and Ellen asked me to invite a lady that used to be in Misty's class. When we
Misty's
first started the
class.
group, she used to come to lunch. Her name is Susan. And she hasn't been back at BSF in a while, but or maybe she's doing it online, I'm not sure. Yes. Oh, is she in your class now again? Good, good. She came back. Okay, well, good. Well, yes. Well, she wants to come back to the lunches, so I added her name and phone number in there. And then Ellen said, well, I think you should add Sheila and Nancy back. And I said, okay. But then I told her, I said, I'm just putting this out there. We've had drama-free lunch for months now. I'm not going back to it again. And I said, I will shut it down. And I said, I'm not embarrassed to do that either. And if she throws a temper tantrum and runs out of the restaurant screaming, let her do it. But it's gonna be shut down, She's not gonna behave that way in public. And
Do you want to keep this?
she's not gonna be part of our group if she can't control herself. So. I know, and see, she said that's what she's doing at the Bible study that she's going to on Tuesdays, is she sits there, and while the woman's speaking, when you have a speaker, you're supposed to listen. She said all she does is sit at the table and talk the entire time, and nobody at that table can hear. Yes, and she says she distracts people from what the speaker's saying, she distracts people from what the lesson is, and she sits there and says, Anne Marie said she started making up rules saying everything in here needs to be confidential. There's people at this table I don't trust, and pointing fingers. I don't think she has the capability of keeping her mouth shut. And she has to comment on everything and everybody and take credit for everything and everybody. And it's just not gonna happen anymore. Because if she wants to do
Not
that,
after
then
they
we're
see
gonna find
this.
some other people to do it with. She doesn't need to do it with our group. Where that's not what we set the group up to be. We set it up to be, well, then let her just sit by herself, or let her sit with Nancy, and they can just sit and torment each other.
What's your name?
They don't need to cause problems.
I'll get your name right there. You gonna stay here today with him?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what I told Anne Marie. I said, don't sit near her. Yeah. And I told her, I said, all this,
And my son's.
oh, she'll be the first one there.
Okay, that's fine. You got a lady.
And that's another thing she's always done. She's always insisted, I need to sit on the end.
Sign in for me right here in just a second.
And I told you about the time at Outback
Yes, ma'am.
where we all got there and I walked in first
Go ahead and get
and I went to sit down and she said, I need to sit there because I might have to get up and leave. She never once left. No. Her son apparently has gotten some sort of job, which, yes, but
get you checked
every
in.
time he's had a job, he only works for a couple of months and then he quits. He does, but yeah, it runs in the family, it does.
What's his name?
Okay,
Make sure I don't go out with him.
okay, yeah, okay, all right, he's still in pre-op now, so, okay, all right, okay, bye.